This is crazy. AllThat'sInteresting.com. A live worm was removed from Australian woman's brain in world first discovery. By Austin Harvey, edited by Jacqueline Anglis, published August 29th, 2023, and this was updated August 30th, 2023. Before I move on, look at this picture. Look at the size of that worm. A woman in Australia was hospitalized after experiencing a litany of strange symptoms, which started with stomach pain, coughing, and night sweats, and escalated to cognitive conditions. But no one expected that the source of these mystery symptoms would turn out to be a small 3-inch long worm. It was definitely not what we were expecting. Everyone was shocked. Operating surgeon Dr. Hari Priya Bandi told the BBC. The 64-year-old woman had suffered from her initial symptoms for nearly 3 weeks before first entering the hospital in January 2021. At first, she experienced abdominal pain, diarrhea, a constant dry cough, a fever, and night sweats. A brain scan later revealed that she had an atypical lesion within the right frontal lobe of the brain. Wow. Still, the true cause of her symptoms remains elusive, and it wouldn't be until June 2022, after the woman's symptoms had evolved to include forgetfulness and depression, that Bandi would make a startling discovery. The woman had been referred to Canberra Hospital, where she was given an MRI that revealed abnormalities in her brain requiring surgery. But as Bandi's colleague, infectious disease physician Dr. Sanjaya Senanayake, told The Guardian, the neurosurgeon certainly didn't go in there thinking they would find a wriggling worm. This was a once-in-a-career finding. No one was expecting to find that. Bandi said the operation had only just started when she felt something odd in the part of the brain that showed up strangely in the scans. I thought, gosh, that feels funny. You couldn't see anything more abnormal, Bandi said. And then I was able to really feel something, and I took my tweezers and pulled it out and thought, gosh, what is that? It's moving. Bandi said the worm was happily moving, quite vigorously, outside the brain. Unsure of what to do with this new and strange discovery, Bandi consulted Senanayake. We just went for the textbooks, looking up all the different types of roundworm that could cause neurological invasion and disease. Senanayake said, unfortunately, the resources at their disposal yielded no fruitful result, and they were forced to contact outside experts. Canberra is a small place, so we sent the worm, which was still alive, to straight to the laboratory of a CSIRO scientist who was very experienced with parasites, Senanayake said. He just looked at it and said, oh my god, this is Ophidascaris robertsi. So, Ophidascaris robertsi is a relatively common roundworm found in carpet pythons, non-venomous snakes located across Australia. But the Canberra hospital patient is the first time this worm has been seen in a human. Experts believe that the worm became an accidental host after collecting warrigal greens, a type of native grass, from a lakeside near her home to use in cooking. Carpet pythons also inhabit the area, and the leading hypothesis among experts is that a python shed the parasite via its feces into the grass. So, despite no direct contact with the python, the woman may have become infected with the parasite when she touched the grass, either from later transferring it to other food or from eating the grass itself. Senanayake noted that treatment was difficult for the patient, as even after the worm in her brain was removed, they had to treat her for other parasite larvae that could be in her system. However, some medications that kill off larvae can also cause inflammation, which can harm organs such as the brain. That poor patient, she was so courageous and wonderful, Senanayake said. You don't want to be the first patient in the world with a roundworm found in pythons, and we really took our hats off to her. She's been wonderful. Senanayake added that the patient is recovering well and is still being regularly monitored. Researchers also are working to determine if a pre-existing condition that caused the woman to be immunocompromised could have made it easier for the larvae to get a foothold. This strange case also adds to an already growing and concerning trend of infections spreading from animals to humans. There have been about 30 new infections in the world in the last 30 years, Senanayake said. Of the emerging infections globally, about 75% are zoonotic, meaning there has been transmission from the animal world to the human world. This includes coronaviruses. Fortunately, this specific infection is not transmittable between people, Senanayake said, so there is no concern that it will turn into a pandemic like COVID-19 or Ebola. That said, carpet pythons and the parasite that attaches to them are found in other parts of the globe, meaning the world could see this happen again sooner rather than later. I'm gonna look for a video, because I know this one too. Look at the size of this python. That is insane. And look at the size of the worm. There's a video I saw about this. That's actually how I discovered it. Let's see. Okay. This is from BBC News. Hopefully you don't have copyright music on it. We'll be able to see the whole video.
Now let's move to Australia, where scientists say an 8-centimetre worm has been found alive in the brain of an Australian woman. That is a world first. Let's speak now to our correspondent, Phil Mercer. Phil, talk us through exactly what happened here.
Well, you can only imagine the surprise within the minds of the surgical team at the Canberra Hospital in June of last year when they were operating on a patient who had, for very many months, been describing a very long list of unpleasant symptoms ranging from stomach pains to night sweats, diarrhea, forgetfulness and depression. A scan revealed a lesion or damage to part of her brain that led to this biopsy in the middle of last year. And when they were investigating the lesion, the surgeon found this 8-centimetre long light red worm. It's a parasite, and it's the first time this type of parasite has been found inside a person. So
look at the size of this.
When surgeons do this sort of brain surgery, they don't expect to find anything live within the brain, but that's what they found. And this has really led to an extraordinary amount of research about the potential dangers of disease and infections coming from animals into people. Of course, we know this with COVID-19, but scientists say that this particular brain worm case here in Australia is another warning that these diseases from animals jumping into humans is very much a growing concern.
Phil, absolutely extraordinary. Thank you very much.
I mean, that's only adding to the list of the ones that we already experience that are pretty bad as it is. The last thing we need is an actual worm living in your brain. Because not only did the worm have to go in through some place, or wow, it's just, if it went in through the feet, yeah, just like, I don't even know. From the person's feet all the way to their brain. That is crazy. Did it form in one part of the body and wiggled its way all the way and settled itself in this woman's brain? There's so many questions. There's just an ocean of questions right now that doctors and scientists must be just trying to figure out at this point. Because if you think about it, this technically defies a lot of medical studies that have been done up until this point. You know, they thought they had the brain figured out, you know, up until a certain, you know, point, but now it's just like they have to restudy a whole bunch of shit, because now it is possible for a worm to live inside of a human being's brain. And not only live there, but cause significant physical damage, nerve damage to you as well. It's crazy to me. Wow.
That. Now, we have one of the doctors that saw that parasite, Dr. Sanjaya Senanayaka. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Lewis, for having me.
What was your reactions? What was your thoughts? How did you come to see it?
So our laboratory in the hospital, our microbiology laboratory, got a call from the surgeon saying, we've just discovered a live wriggling worm in this patient's brain. It's something we've never seen before. Help us out. And as the on-call infectious diseases physician at the time, my laboratory colleague involved me, and we got to work trying to determine what this worm actually was so we could treat this patient. And we looked through all the possibilities and realized it might be outside the realms of normal human parasites. And Canberra being a small place, we were able to send it up the road to the CSIRO, where an animal parasitologist confidently made the diagnosis.
So,
really quickly, picture A, the area that it's in gray, that's where the worm resided, I guess. Mon-Fri, that's where he was evicted from. Right there. Bam. Crazy. I mean, obviously the picture makes it look a lot bigger, but that was in someone's brain. Wow.
This worm was successfully extracted, was it?
Look, it was all 8 centimeters, and it was alive when it was removed from the brain by our neurosurgeon, Dr. Bandy.
What was it feeding on?
And it was alive when it reached the microbiology laboratory, and it was alive when it got sent up the road to our colleague at the CSIRO. Then he dissected it, and that was the end of the worm.
That was the end for the worm. Absolutely extraordinary. And do we know, or are we allowed to release any details about how the worm got in?
No, look, absolutely. And what we believe has happened is this. So normally this parasite lives in carpet pythons, which are found all over Australia. The eggs of the parasite get into the python feces, which small mammals or marsupials normally or accidentally consume when they're eating foliage, etc. The parasite develops in them until another snake comes along and kills the marsupial or small mammal, and then the life cycle completes itself in the python. What we think has happened here is that our patient collected some native grasses called warrigal greens for consumption, and we think the python feces and parasite eggs have contaminated that, and by touching that and eating that, she's unfortunately inadvertently become infected. So she's an accidental host.
Every detail of this story gets more and more extraordinary. What's your kind of personal / professional reaction to it?
Look, I think everyone's grabbed onto the yuck factor, the live worm being removed from the brain. But look, even if you remove that, there is a couple of important take-home messages here. Even though there's been 100 years between true pandemics, new infections are appearing in the world all the time. There have been 30 in the last 30 years. 3/4 of those are animal infections which have infected human beings. And as our burgeoning human population encroaches on animal habitats, that interaction between humans, domestic animals, wild animals, and flora will lead to more of these infections appearing. So that's really important. Also, this parasite is found in snakes and other parts of the world, so raising awareness of this case may lead to the identification and treatment of other cases around the world.
Wow.
Absolutely extraordinary and fascinating.
Could you imagine that there are people that are experiencing symptoms similar to what she was experiencing, and they've been to the doctor so many times trying to figure out what's going on with them, and they don't get any responses from doctors. Doctors can't find anything. Tests all come back great. It seems like you should be in the best health based off of the data from all the tests that were ran on you, and blood tests, blood work, and MRIs, whatever the case may be. What if a lot of those cases, this is actually what's going on? Because it's true what he says. I mean, the reality of it is that as human beings, we will always see new different type of diseases pop up, and there's going to be new things because one event leads to another. Climate change leads to all of these new development of different pathogens and a whole bunch of shit. Dude, it's crazy, man. We either change our ways to be able to kind of combat and reduce the amount of these new developments happening, or we're just gonna have to consistently come up with vaccines to be able to counter all of these new diseases that are happening, and it's just gonna get worse. Before we move on to the next one, I'm gonna look at something really quickly. I'm gonna find okay, so see if we can find some animal diseases that are now found in humans. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so we're reading from the health.state.mn.us. This is the Minnesota Department of Health website. And title says zoonotic diseases. It's a disease transmitted from animals to humans. So, zoonosis, it's a zoonotic disease, or zoonosis, which is a plural, is an infectious disease that is transmitted between species from animals to humans, or from humans to animals. Illnesses associated with animal contact. We have rabies. We have a blastomycosis. That is a rare fungal infection usually acquired by inhaling the spores of a fungus that can be found in wood and soil. We have a psittacosis. This is systemic illness in companion birds. That's birds kept by humans as pets, and can also be found in poultry. This illness is often referred to as avian chlamydiosis, which is parrot fever. Interesting. We have a trichinosis. We have cat scratch disease, histoplasmosis, and coccidiomycosis, just to name a few. This was updated 2022. Let's see. I want to find another list. Ooh. Okay, there's a lot. So we'll write zoonotic diseases. Let's see. Okay, we'll see this quick video. Let's see, maybe this one will be able to explain it. It's COVID-19 is a zoonotic disease. What are zoonotic diseases? Wow, this was from April 30th. I'm not going to go into that one. It's from 2020. Those are some dark times. Also 2020. Jeez. Let's see this video. I do nothing with it like that. I want something that can actually have some sort of explanation to it.
Direct contact.
Would have been great if it didn't have that background music on it.
As a new decade dawned in 2020, everyday life seemed relatively normal. Then, COVID-19, a new deadly coronavirus, spread across the globe and changed our lives.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
As of June 2021, at least 177 million people have been infected, and more than 3.8 million have died, though these are thought to be low estimates, and numbers continue to rise. Lockdowns and other restrictions imposed in response to the pandemic also triggered the deepest global economic recession in a century, with at least 131 million people pushed into poverty. Still, the pandemic rages on as new, more contagious strains evolve. But this coronavirus is just the newest zoonotic disease to jump from animals to infect people.
There should be an option that lets you cut the copyright music out of it, because it is yogurt with a little bit of raspberry jelly in it and some granola. Boom. It's a great breakfast right there. I mean, it's going to be 12 soon, but nonetheless, it's going to contain the hunger. It sucks because I really wanted to watch this video, but this music is not good. Not good at all. I apologize for that. I'm sorry. I really do. It's hard to be able to find something without music in it.
A zoonosis is any disease or infection that is naturally transmissible from vertebrate animals to humans. Zoonosis may be bacterial, viral, or parasitic, or may involve unconventional agents. Animals can sometimes appear healthy even when they are carrying germs that can make people sick depending on the disease. While petting or touching animals and through bites or scratches. Coming into contact with areas where animals live and roam. Being bitten by a tick or an insect like a mosquito or a flea. Eating or drinking contaminated food. Drinking or coming in contact with water that has been contaminated with feces from an infected animal. Although anyone can get sick from a zoonotic disease, those at a higher risk of contraction are children younger than 5, adults older than 65, people with weakened immune systems, pregnant women.
Make sense? Make sense?
Influenza A viruses are found in bats. Internal genes of bat flu viruses are compatible with human flu viruses.
Which is why pregnant women cannot handle kitty litter, or like not kitty litter, like but like kitty like feces and stuff, because that has toxoplasmosis and that can like affect the baby and whatnot. Yeah, that's 100% true. There's a lot of data in regards to that, so there has been some really comprehensive studies done in regards to the dangers of like pregnant people handling kitty dung. Crazy. Scientists say that what is it? There's like a huge percentage of human beings, especially people that own cats, that have toxoplasmosis, but it's just they have it dormant, so it's not like active or anything, but it is active in pregnant people, which is crazy because you would think that that wouldn't be the case, but that's how nature works. See, and that's what led us into learning about zoonotic diseases. I knew about some of them, but there's a pretty long list of diseases that animals can transmit to humans. It's crazy. All right, let's finish watching this video and then we'll move on to another article from All That's Interesting. We'll do about 2 more articles from there, and then we'll move on to Good News Network.
17 N10, H18 N11 are found only in bats. Cats can be infected with influenza viruses, including avian influenza viruses, a contagious respiratory disease in dogs caused by specific type A influenza viruses H3N8 and H3N2. No human infections with canine influenza have ever been reported. A respiratory disease of pigs caused by type A influenza viruses.
It's only cats.
These viruses occur naturally among wild aquatic birds worldwide and can infect domestic poultry and other bird and animal species. All subtypes of influenza A viruses, apart from H17N10 and H18N11, can infect birds. An outbreak of one such zoonotic disease took place near the Kyasanur forest in Karnataka in 1957. The Kyasanur forest disease, also known as monkey fever, is a highly dangerous hemorrhagic fever. It is a viral disease transmitted to humans through a tick species usually found on monkeys. COVID-19 is caused by the virus SARS-CoV-2, which was believed to have started at the Huanan seafood wholesale market in Wuhan. Other types of zoonotic viruses include SARS-CoV, which was transmitted from civet cats to humans, and MERS-CoV, which was transmitted from dromedary camels to humans. Several known coronaviruses are circulating in animals. These have not yet infected humans.
Good question. How does one safeguard
Always
against
wash your
zoonotic
hands after
diseases?
being around animals. Use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Prevent bites from mosquitoes, ticks, and fleas. Avoid bites and scratches from animals.
Crazy. Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty informative too. Did a good job with this video. All stemming from this article that we just read. Liveworm was removed from Australian woman's brain in world's first discovery. Crazy.